There comes a moment in every woman's life when someone tries to break her, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually, and too often that someone is a man she once trusted, loved, or believed in. But listen to me closely. How you respond in that moment doesn't just define your relationship, it defines you. When a man breaks you, you respond like a queen, not because he deserves grace, but because you deserve dignity. Let me be honest, pain is inevitable. Heartbreak is universal. Whether he ghosted you, betrayed your trust, belittled your dreams, or left you questioning your worth, the first instinct is to retaliate or fall apart. But queens don't crumble, they rise. Not because they're made of stone, but because they've learned that elegance isn't weakness. It's power under control. Responding like a queen means choosing self-respect over revenge. It means staying silent when drama tempts you to explode. It means walking away with your head held high when your ego is begging to stay and prove something. Because here's the truth, when you lower yourself to match someone's chaos, you surrender your crown. But when you hold your peace, you remind the world who you are. Queens don't compete with jesters. I've seen women give away their power for the sake of love. I've been that woman. We sacrifice our ambition, silence our voice, shrink our light so we don't intimidate him. And when he walks away or tears us down, we're left wondering what we did wrong. But darling, his brokenness is not your burden. His actions speak of him, not of you. So instead of chasing closure, build empires. Instead of begging for answers, let your silence echo confidence. You don't need to prove your worth to a man who couldn't see it in the first place. You're not a second choice. You're not a backup plan. You are royalty, unshaken, unbothered, undefeated. When he expects you to fall apart, surprise him by flourishing. Work on yourself, elevate, heal, pour your pain into progress. Let your glow be louder than your grief. You don't need to scream your worth. It should be felt when you enter a room. And one more thing. Never let the pain he caused close your heart. Queens still love, but they do so with wisdom, with discernment, with standards. You may walk through fire, but you come out wearing diamonds, because heartbreak is not your ending, it's your awakening. So the next time a man tries to break you, straighten your crown. Respond not with bitterness, but with brilliance. Not with tears, but with transformation. And remember, queens don't beg, they reign. When someone tries to break you, especially a man you once trusted, the most natural reaction is to explode, defend yourself, or lash out. It's human. When your heart has been hurt and your spirit shaken, anger feels like the only weapon you have left. But true power doesn't come from reacting loudly. It comes from responding wisely. There's a quiet strength in holding your dignity, especially when everything in you wants to scream. When you choose grace over drama, you're not being weak, you're being strategic. You're showing the world that your worth is not dependent on someone else's behavior. You're not controlled by chaos, you rise above it. A queen doesn't chase people down to demand respect. She doesn't fight to be seen or heard by someone who has already proven he can't value her. Instead, she holds herself with a kind of silent nobility that speaks louder than any argument. Your dignity is your armor. It protects you from being dragged into the mud of someone else's brokenness. When a man disrespects you, abandons you, or breaks your heart, you don't owe him your tears in public or your outrage online. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself silence, healing, and a higher path. It takes a strong woman to choose composure when she has every reason to collapse. But that's the kind of strength that sets you apart. Anyone can react in the heat of the moment, but it takes maturity and self-worth to rise above and let time do the revealing. Because trust, this people always show their true colors, and you don't need to stain your own hands trying to paint the picture for them. Walk away with elegance and let your absence speak volumes. Let your poise remind them of what they lost. There's a reason the crown sits high. It's not meant to be tossed into the dirt during emotional battles. You are not made for petty games or loud confrontations. You are made for greater things. When you hold your dignity over drama, you remind yourself and the world that your value is non-negotiable. And while others may forget what was said in the heat of the moment, they'll never forget how you carried yourself. So let them see you glow, not because you need to prove a point, but because you are a point. When a man breaks you, choose to respond like the royalty you are, calm, confident, and completely in control. Silence is one of the most underestimated forms of power. In a world that demands loud reactions and emotional outbursts, choosing to remain silent can feel unnatural. especially when you've been hurt, betrayed, or disrespected. But silence is not weakness, it's control. It's choosing not to give someone the satisfaction of watching you fall apart. When a man breaks you, he often expects chaos. He expects tears, shouting, accusations, a storm that proves he still holds some power over your emotions. But when you respond with silence, you shift the balance. You no longer play by his rules. You elevate the entire situation to your level. Silence doesn't mean you're ignoring your feelings. It means you're processing them in a way that protects your peace. Instead of wasting your energy arguing with someone who doesn't deserve access to your emotions, you reserve that energy for healing and rebuilding. You give yourself space to reflect, to understand, and to rise without being pulled into a performance. When you speak too soon out of hurt, you risk saying things you'll regret. But when you remain quiet, you allow the truth to breathe and the dust to settle. And in that stillness, you find clarity. You realize that your worth isn't defined by someone else's treatment of you. Your silence becomes a statement, a boundary, a line in the sand, a form of self-respect. There's a certain elegance in walking away without a word, not because you're passive, but because you've realized that some battles aren't worth fighting. You are not here to prove your side of the story to someone who never truly listened. Let your silence do the speaking. Let your growth do the talking. Let your absence be the loudest thing he hears. Because when someone loses access to your words, they begin to feel the full weight of your presence no longer being there. Silence also teaches you about yourself. In that quiet space, you reconnect with your power. You realize that your story doesn't end with heartbreak. It begins with how you rise from it. You learn that your emotions are valid, but they don't have to be on display for everyone to dissect. You take back control by refusing to react the way they expect. In silence, you become unpredictable, unshakable, and unforgettable. So the next time someone tries to shatter your spirit, don't respond with noise. Respond with nothing, and let that nothing echo louder than any scream ever could. Because when you're truly powerful, you don't need to shout. You just walk away. Head high, heart whole, crown intact. Pain is an unavoidable part of life, especially when it comes from someone you loved and trusted. When a man breaks your heart, it can feel like your world is crashing down. The hurt is deep, and the temptation to see yourself as a victim can be overwhelming. But you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become after it. Pain may be your present reality, but it doesn't have to become your identity. It can either consume you or transform you. It's your choice. The most powerful women in the world didn't escape pain. They used it as fuel. They took their heartbreak and turned it into a fire that lit up every room they walked into. There's something sacred about a woman who chooses to grow through what tried to break her. She doesn't pretend she wasn't hurt. She just refuses to stay there. She understands that pain is a teacher, not a prison, and so she begins to rebuild, one boundary at a time, one goal at a time, one day at a time. Every tear she cried becomes a drop of strength in the ocean of her power. Every sleepless night becomes a lesson in endurance. Instead of replaying the betrayal over and over, she shifts her focus inward. She starts rediscovering who she is without the pain, beyond the pain. There's a version of you that exists on the other side of this heartbreak, stronger, wiser, more radiant than ever. But to meet her, you have to stop letting pain define you. You have to stop introducing yourself by your scars. Instead, let your glow introduce your growth. You don't have to prove to the world that you're over it. You just have to keep moving forward. Let your progress be louder than your pain. Let your comeback be the only explanation you ever give. Remember, the most beautiful things in life are often born from brokenness. Diamonds are formed under pressure, gold is purified by fire, and queens are forged in pain. So when you're in the middle of your heartbreak, don't see it as your ending. See it as your awakening. See it as the moment you stop shrinking and start evolving. You may have been broken, but you are not destroyed. You are being reshaped, reimagined, refined, and soon the woman you become will thank you for not letting that pain hold you back. Because you didn't let it define you. You let it launch you. When someone breaks your heart, especially someone you deeply loved, it's easy to internalize their actions and blame yourself. You start questioning your worth, wondering if you were not enough, if you did something wrong, or if you somehow pushed them away. But here's a truth you must hold on to with everything you have. His actions are a reflection of who *E* is, not who *You* are. His betrayal, his distance, his disrespect. That all speaks of his emotional capacity, his values, and his character. It doesn't mean you were unworthy of love. It simply means he wasn't capable of honoring it the way you deserved. Too many women carry the weight of someone else's immaturity as if it were their fault. They dim their light trying to make someone else comfortable, or they change themselves in the hope of being accepted. But no matter how much you love, support, or give, you can't make someone see your value if they're not ready to recognize it. That's not a flaw in you. It's a flaw in their vision, and sometimes it takes walking away to realize that you were never the problem. You were the blessing they weren't prepared to receive. There is so much freedom in knowing that you don't have to carry his shame. Let him deal with the consequences of his choices. Let him face the silence of your absence. You don't need to fix him, explain yourself, or chase understanding. What you need is to heal, to rebuild your confidence, and to remember exactly who you are. You are not a reflection of his inability to love. You are a reflection of grace, strength, and resilience. When a man mistreats you, it's not an indication of your lack. It's a spotlight on his limitations. Your love, your time, your energy are all gifts, and anyone who doesn't honor them simply isn't ready for a woman like you. That's not rejection, it's redirection. You weren't meant to shrink for someone else's comfort. You were meant to shine and be met with someone equally capable of standing in that light. So the next time you find yourself blaming yourself for someone else's betrayal, pause. Breathe, remind yourself of your worth, and walk forward knowing this. You are not defined by how someone failed to love you. You are defined by how you continue to love yourself, protect your peace, and rise with dignity intact. There is something incredibly powerful about a woman who chooses to glow through her grief. When your heart has been broken, the pain can feel all-consuming. It's tempting to shut down, to stay stuck in sadness, and to believe that you've lost something you can never recover. But that's not the truth. The truth is, the most radiant version of you is often born in the aftermath of heartbreak. When you decide to shift your focus from what hurt you to what can heal you, everything begins to change. You stop looking backward and start moving forward with intention and strength. Glowing through grief isn't about pretending you're not in pain. It's about refusing to let the pain dim your light. You don't have to be loud about your suffering. You don't have to tell the world how broken you feel. Instead, you silently build. You pour that heartache into your goals, your dreams, your purpose. You turn your sadness into fuel. You commit to yourself in ways you never did before. Because now, you're no longer waiting for someone else to complete you. You are becoming whole on your own terms. People expect you to fall apart when you've been broken. They expect the tears, the bitterness, the revenge. But when you glow instead, you rewrite the narrative. You rise above what was meant to destroy you. Your peace, your confidence, your quiet growth. It all becomes a silent reminder that you didn't just survive, you evolved. And there is no louder message than success after heartbreak. Let your transformation be your testimony. Let your glow be your closure. The most beautiful revenge is becoming everything they thought you couldn't be without them. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that you were never dependent on anyone for your worth. You are your own validation. And when you start to focus on yourself, really focus on your wellness, your ambitions, your joy, you begin to glow in ways no relationship could ever provide. That glow is sacred. It comes from choosing yourself again and again, even when it hurts. So don't waste another moment stuck in grief. Let it teach you, shape you, and then let it go. You deserve to feel beautiful, powerful, and unstoppable, not in spite of what happened to you, but because you rose from it. Shine, not because everything is perfect, but because you've decided to become light in the darkness. Let your glow speak for the strength they never saw in you. Let it be your silent answer to every person who ever underestimated your comeback. When someone hurts you deeply, especially someone you gave your heart to, it's natural to want to protect yourself from ever feeling that pain again. The easiest response is to harden, to shut down, to build walls so high that no one can reach you. But in doing that, you don't just block out the pain, you block out the beauty too. Love is a risk, but it's also a gift. And just because one man failed to value, it doesn't mean every man will. One heartbreak should never rob you of your softness, your ability to care, your willingness to be vulnerable. A queen knows how to protect herself without losing the very essence that makes her extraordinary. It takes real strength to stay open after you've been broken. The easy route is bitterness, cynicism, or pretending you don't care. But the truth is, your heart is not weak because it feels. It's powerful because it continues to beat with hope even after being wounded. Being soft in a hard world is a kind of royalty that can't be faked. You don't need to harden to be strong. In fact, your softness is part of your strength. It means you've faced pain and still choose love, not out of naivety, but out of courage. When you learn from the past, you don't have to carry its pain into your future. You begin to love with wisdom. You set boundaries, not barriers. You observe patterns, not just promises. You trust actions, not just words. And most importantly, you remember that your love is a gift, not a sacrifice. The right person won't make you question your worth. They'll recognize it without explanation. But you'll never experience that kind of love if you let pain turn you cold. So you heal, but you don't close. You protect your heart, but you don't bury it. You walk forward with clarity, not fear. You learn to love again, but differently, with more care for yourself this time. You know what you deserve, and you don't settle for less. That's what it means to respond like a queen. Not to stop loving, but to start loving from a place of strength, not survival. Let your past teach you, but don't let it define you. Stay soft, stay open, and stay wise, because the world needs more women who have been through fire and still choose to bloom. Your softness isn't a weakness. It's a reflection of a woman who refused to let heartbreak steal her ability to love fully, fiercely, and fearlessly. Thank you.